Hi, my name is Paul Stone. I represent MSU Denver, and I'm here to present my strength and conditioning legend, Coach Stacey Torman. So we'll begin with an overview of Coach Torman's career. We'll start with her education. So she graduated, she received her bachelor's in science in exercise technology at Texas A&M University in 1987. Here she was a student athlete herself, and she played volleyball under Coach Terry Condon. They reached as far as the Sweet 16 in 1985, and she also participated in beach volleyball and was a former USAV volleyball team player. From there, she would earn her master's in education in exercise physiology at the University of Alabama, Birmingham. She'd finish her master's in 1990 and go on to stay at UAB and become the director of strength and conditioning for about 21 years. From there, she would become a director in Olympic sports performance and eventually become a director of athletic performance, which she still, in which she currently holds this title to this day. So she's been at UAB for all of her strength and conditioning career, which consists of about 31 years postgraduate school. She's also notably involved with the CSCCA, the Collegiate Strength and Conditioning Coaches Association. She's been on the board of directors for about 16 years and has been the vice president since 2016. So moving on to some personal development, these are factors of Coach Torman's success from her own words, the source being the 3 Cycle Strength podcast, which she cites these as being contributing factors to her success. Beginning with her early life, her mother played softball. She was always around the softball field at a young age, and her father was an avid weightlifter and entrepreneur. So Coach Torman always had an athletic background due to her parents. Her father was open athletics and never tried to dissuade her from a career in athletics and particularly strength and conditioning. It was as an athlete at Texas A&M where she was introduced to collegiate strength and conditioning, thanks to her coach Esteban Javorek, known affectionately as Coach Pop, pictured in the top left-hand corner. Coach Pop helped Coach Torman maximize her athletic performance as a volleyball player and showed her that her body and her athleticism can be changed through strength and conditioning. Another major player in Coach Torman's development was Meg Ritchie Stone, pictured in the middle photo here. Meg Ritchie Stone was hired in 1984 by her alma mater, University of Arizona, to be the head strength and conditioning coach, making her the very first female strength and conditioning coach in Division I history. And it was Coach Torman herself that presented Meg Ritchie Stone with the Legend Award presented by the CSCCA in 2007. So a little fun fact there. Moving on to her major contributions. So I mentioned her involvement in the CSCCA earlier. Coach Torman is on the board of directors since 2005, just 5 years after the CSCCA's inception. And she's been vice president since 2016, so going on about 5 years now. Coach Torman was the first female master strength and conditioning coach in history. She received this certification about 4 years after the CSCCA was created in 2004. And duties of board members include membership overlook, administering certification, CEU overlook, and involvement in organization of the CSCCA's annual national conference. So in order to understand why this is such a big deal, we must first understand why the CSCCA is a big deal. So the CSCCA is one of 2 major organizations in strength and conditioning, the other being the NSCA. It was developed in 2000 with the goal to meet the needs of the collegiate strength and conditioning coach. It notably administers and assesses both written and practical exams for 2 major certifications, the first being the SCCC, Strength and Conditioning Coach Certified. I wanted to talk about this certification in particular because of the rigor or the rigorous course it takes in order to earn it. The first is completing 640 internship practicum hours under an approved CSCCA mentor. From there, you need to take and pass a comprehensive written exam. And from there, you must, excuse me, complete 2 stations of a practical exam administered by a panel of master strength and conditioning coaches. These 2 stations consist of proper strength training technique and the other being proper exercise prescription. The other certification listed here is also the Master Strength and Conditioning Coach, which Coach Torman was the first female to receive this certification in history. It also emphasizes continued education to ensure certified coaches are up to date. So those are those CEUs or continuing education units that I mentioned earlier. And the easiest way to fulfill this continued education is attending the national conference that the CSCCA holds every year. And of course, the CSCCA also provides many free resources to aid strength coaches in their development, which can be found on their website. Her other most notable contribution is her contribution to the strength and conditioning program of the University of Alabama, Birmingham. So over the course of her career, she has implemented programs for 16 of the 18 teams at UAB. In the 1990s, she advised sport coaches of the importance of strength and conditioning programs when this field was in its general infancy. She's helped with university-wide UAB Sports Performance Council, so she's not only helped run athletes, but also the staff underneath her. She's involved in coaching and directing and has had her hand in a few special projects at UAB, one of which being the Strategic Planning Committee and also assisting in the UAB programming, UAB pregnancy policy. Moving on, Coach Torman has listed a few, has shared a few of her philosophies in coaching that I'd like to share with you now that we've covered all of her major contributions to the strength and conditioning field. The first of which I wanted to get into was her take on internships. Here I will credit the Power Athlete Radio podcast, where she helped give these answers. The first is that internships are an educational resource, not a one-way ticket to a job. So this is a common misconception amongst young strength and conditioning coaches that they are owed a full-time or maybe even a head strength and conditioning position just because they have grinded out an unpaid internship. This, of course, is not true. Coach Torman sees this as a free educational resource from herself in the case of her interns. Second is, if the profession is not for you, quote, better to find out now than later on. So this is something that many strength and conditioning coaches harp on, and Coach Torman is no exception. She says, hey, use this internship as a way to find out if this is for you, or even better yet, not for you. And of course, the strategy of thinning the herd, weeding out those amongst a generation of instant gratification. This was a common theme of this generation being prone to wanting instant gratification, in that this field in strength and conditioning is definitely not going to accommodate that need. The final slide is the coach's view, working with athletes. So this is basically her philosophy when working with athletes themselves. So there's strength training basics. At UAB, they organize athletes by training standards. They have a green group, a white group, and gold group, respectively, from the less experienced athlete in the weight room all the way up to the more experienced, can handle themselves athlete in the weight room, being the gold group. At UAB, they focus on training leaders. The goal is to build up, not tear down, and condition, as can be seen when coaches, particularly sport coaches, will try to implement boot camp style, military style techniques, and push this on the strength coaches. Coach Torman disagrees in this regard, and that the goal is to build up and not tear down. And each athlete is a leader in some form, The goal is to utilize these leadership skills over the course of training. Some examples of putting athletes in a leadership role during a weight room session is, for example, who's calling the cadence out is a good way to establish a leadership role amongst the athletes. And we will finish with the development of these skills in small ways can lead to life preparation. So not every athlete is going to be doing or is going to be participating in their sport as their career for their career. So it is both Coach Torman's goal as well as her staff's goal to develop these leadership skills so that they can translate into the real world, regardless of what it is that they choose to do. So that is my presentation. Thank you for listening, and that is all.